4 months after a third of the country was underwater, Pakistan is still struggling to recover. The disaster affected more than 30 million people and is seen as a warning for other climate-vulnerable countries. As Fred DeSam Lazaro reports from Karachi, recovery in the short and long term present complex challenges. This report is produced in partnership with the Pulitzer Center.
For decades, Karachi has been a magnet for migrants from conflict and climate disasters. Decades ago, it ran out of room. Dotting the city's outskirts are clusters of ramshackle dwellings. These have stood since the 2010 floods. Less than a mile away, crammed under high-voltage power lines, a 2022 wave of settlers.
When the water came, it came all of a sudden at night. We just managed to get out with whatever we could and had to abandon our animals.
Sikandar Chandio and his wife Shugara were sharecropper farmers. They escaped with their 4 children and were able to save 1 cow. They journeyed here on foot, which took a week.
Everything was underwater. There were no facilities. There was no help, no food.
Today they rely on a patchwork of charities, everyone overwhelmed by what UN officials describe as one of the worst climate disasters on record, slamming a country that contributes less than 1% of the world's greenhouse gases.
We have mobilized every available resource towards the national relief effort and repurposed all budget priorities.
Pakistan took the lead at this year's COP27 climate conference, helping to secure agreement on a loss and damage fund to help developing nations cope. Just how those funds, if they appear, will be used is a concern.
But there is a fair amount of man-made responsibility for these floods, and politics plays a big part.
Kaiser Bengali was a government advisor during the 2010 floods, Pakistan's worst until 2022.
I think it is also important to see how this fund will be utilized and how it will be implemented, and whether the socio-political structures and the planning structures that need to be changed, made more effective, happens.
The 1,800-mile-long Indus River, lifeblood of Pakistan's agriculture sector, has been extensively engineered with dams and canals, beginning during British colonial times and ramping up in the 1960s with loans and advisors from international lending agencies.
Has it been, in terms of food production, a reasonably good investment?
Certainly. Lands where not even a blade of grass grew now produce 2 crops a year. It's just that one has to manage this better.
Governance structure is not good.
Governance structure.
So many loopholes in our governance sector. Our departments have been very badly deprived of the new tools, new technologies, new human resources.
Ahmad Kamal has spent 33 years in government service, the top civil engineer at a federal agency that back in 1977 was given the task, but not the resources, he says, to design a comprehensive flood management plan.
From that point till to date, about one fifth of you can say funding that was made available.
So you didn't have money for implementation?
No money at all.
Efforts have fallen short both in funding and engineering, he says. We walked by a weir, a dam-like structure intended to regulate flows of the Malir River near the Indus Delta. It was no match for the 2022 floods.
Is this a symbol of a larger problem?
Yes, this is a symbol of a larger problem. Number one, probably the structure has not been built or maybe under-designed. Number two, the workmanship is not good.
Big-ticket infrastructure projects also account for much of the crushing debt burden of a country already drowning in deficits.
For every $100 of exports, our imports are $220. We need to cut down our expenditures, cut down imports.
But Bengali does not see that happening in a country where, he says, a powerful insular elite is deeply vested in the status quo. Symbols abound of their lifestyle, he says.
You go to a supermarket in Karachi, Lahore, Islamabad, it's difficult to find Pakistani-made stuff. Swiss cheese, Swiss chocolates, imported cat food, dog shampoo, cat shampoo. 2/3 of the children of this country suffer from malnutrition, but we have to feed our pets imported stuff.
Across wide swaths of flooded agricultural land, he adds, landless sharecroppers bore the brunt, and previous attempts to create new villages on higher ground have been resisted by powerful landowners.
The large feudals,
The large feudals.
yeah, large landholders. Because these people who live on their lands in small villages, isolated, low-lying, are their captive labor. If they were to move away into government villages, they would lose control over these people.
For their part, the Chandios have no plans to return to their former life as sharecroppers.
We don't have any land, and we don't have anything to go back to.
And you know what landlords are like. They will first feed themselves before they think of feeding us poor people.
They'll squeeze in with millions of others looking for odd daily wage work in cities increasingly unable to absorb them.
The city's infrastructure has pretty much collapsed. If places become uninhabitable, people need to survive. And where will people go?
Nazish Brohi, a Karachi-based researcher and writer who specializes in democracy, violence, and social change, says absent urgent action, the upheaval will spread far beyond this city and country.
You had some few million people who left Syria and moved to Europe, and the whole of Europe's politics changed. Their entire political rhetoric was driven on, the fear of these incoming migrants, and that was just conflict refugees that moved out of one country over 2 years and then it stopped. What happens when the whole of global south just moves? Because it has nowhere to live.
She and others hope that the government's pledge at the COP27 conference will mark a turning point that builds resilience in what's become a never-ending task of rebuilding from one climate disaster to the next. For the PBS NewsHour, I'm Fred Desam Lazaro in Karachi, Pakistan.
Fred's reporting is a partnership with the Undertold Stories Project at the University of St. Thomas in Minnesota.